Good day and welcome back to the Herbert Dennard Show. We have with us the mayor of the city of Macon, Robert Reichert. Welcome.
Thank you, Herbert. I'm delighted to be with you. Always a pleasure.
It's mine too. I like this stuff here.
I'm sure.
We have a lot of people losing houses across the country.
Correct.
We have our fair share right here in Macon.
Unfortunately, that's true.
The city of Macon, not under your administration, built houses in some I call it low-income areas, which is noble. But when you go into the low-income areas, you have houses that cost $20,000, $30,000, maybe $40,000. But after you get into there, then you run into the nice houses that the city built. Then when you go out the back end of some of the projects, you see the raggedy, not raggedy, but let's say $35,000, $30,000 homes. And the value of the houses go down. Is the city going to change any of that?
Yes. We have talked to Kevin Dubose and to John Hiscox at the Housing Authority, and I think that there is consensus that while we want to redevelop and revitalize neighborhoods within the city, we need to do so in a systematic fashion where we focus our efforts and our attentions on one neighborhood at a time. I think that we have learned through experience that building one house here and one house there and one house here in areas that are otherwise distressed is not the best way to address the problem. You'd be better off to build 3 houses on one block in one neighborhood and try to get the revitalization efforts up to a critical mass so that they can continue on their own. If you spread the peanut butter too thin, you don't really get the full flavor.
Okay, spread the peanut butter too thin.
We don't want to do that. We want to focus our attention and our efforts so that we make a good sandwich.
It's also, some of the houses, some of the people that bought houses kind of steered to by different folks in the city to subprime lenders. When they at first it started out, most of the people was using banks and everybody else. Then some mortgage brokers got involved.
Right. And
they steered the people to subprime lenders, and I think that caused some problems.
Herbert, I would just tell you this. This is a very sad note, not just, as you say, here in Macon, but across the United States. And hindsight is 20/20. If we could go back and do things a different way, I'm sure everybody across the country would. But universally across the country, they felt like home ownership was such a good thing and that home values would continue to increase, and they relaxed the down payment standards, they relaxed the credit standards, they relaxed everything. They put people in on low entry-level interest rates that would then jump up later and have these adjustments later. This was kind of a euphoria of trying to get people into houses because we all thought it was a good idea back then. Well, now we know that as the bubble has burst and as credit has become more and more difficult, yeah, we'd love to go back and do things a different way. So yes, some people were steered, guided, directed with the best of intention as to how to help you get into a house. They were unfortunately directed into situations that we now know we were not smart to get into and we were not smart to steer people into. But I think that was done with the best of intentions and with the idea that it would provide an opportunity for upward economic mobility. It just unfortunately did not work out that way.
And a lot of people lost houses.
And a lot of people, but that gets back to the need. There are efforts underway in Congress, there are efforts underway in the state to provide assistance to people to try to keep them from losing their house, to keep them in the house. Banks now are willing to renegotiate terms of loans because they don't want to repossess your house. There are too many of them on the market now. So if somebody is facing a foreclosure, I would urge them to call, not to just neglect it, assume that this is something that's going to happen and they're embarrassed and ashamed. Instead, to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I'm facing a foreclosure. Is there anything that I can do? And the city of Macon partners with Home First to provide foreclosure counseling.